Next up, we got Ian Rogers, Chief Experience Officer from Ledger. They're defining the hardware wallet standard. So let's give them a round of applause.
Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing? I've got a timer here. I only have 15 minutes of your time, and I'm really here for you all. I don't need to hear myself talk. So I'll try to give you like a brief overview of how I'm looking at the world that we're all living in, and how Ledger fits within it. I'll touch on the topic of identity just a bit. In 15 minutes, we're not going to cover the future of our identities. But I'd love to have questions and have you guys, ask really any questions that you might have about what we're doing at Ledger or the setup. Really briefly, again, my name is Ian Rogers. I'm an American, but I live in Paris. I spent the first 20 years of my life doing digital music, from Winamp and Yahoo Music to Beats Music and Apple Music. And then I moved to Paris to work for a big luxury conglomerate called LVMH. So throughout my career, I dropped out of a computer science program in 1995 to go on tour with the Beastie Boys. So being here in New York feels like a return to that life. And then had the great opportunity to work with people like Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre and the great leaders and brands at LVMH on branding. So I have this computer science background, but I've always been in the world of digital assets, more or less, right? If you think about what we did in digital music, going from compact discs, which were digital audio, to digital downloads, to ultimately subscription services. And I've built 3 of those subscription services, and that's not including Winamp, Yahoo Music Unlimited, Beats Music, and Apple Music. So for me, then to work with these brands at LVMH, for me, like NFT.NYC is like the culmination of literally 30 years of thinking about how technology is changing culture and humanity. And I think that that's exactly what's going on. I think as human beings, we like to believe that we're these sovereign creatures that, and technology is our tool, but that's not really what happens, right? I mean, without, the printing press, you don't get the Crusades. Without radio, you don't get the Third Reich. And today, without, Telegram, we don't get the Ukraine conflict in the shape that we have it. Technology shapes humanity. And when we were all excited about the internet in, 1996, 97, 98, 99, and lead up to that bubble, none of us were imagining Donald Trump and Brexit, right, as sort of the culmination of what we have. And I think that this is exactly what happens. The internet brought us a revolution of information. How does information get distributed was fundamentally changed. New York in the 70s, 80s, 90s was absolutely a product of the fact that you could take people off the streets in New York and put them on, mass media and broadcast them around the world, right? Ask the Beastie Boys. And the world that we live in today, with people fucking off to Puerto Rico, Miami, and Austin is exactly a product of kind of the technology that we have and the way that we work and the way that we live our lives. And this is what happens. So we have this new human invention, critical digital assets, scarce digital goods. And that's why we're all here, because there's a new invention. Just like there was the internet, and there was TCP/IP, and there was SMTP, and there was FTP, and there was HTTP, and those were the building blocks on which we built this revolution of information. Now we have building blocks for a revolution of value, which will impact humanity in ways that are at least as big as the way that the internet has, right? But as always happens in these times, and I don't care if it's industrialization or automotive or the microchip or the internet or scarce digital goods, you get a gold rush, you get a bunch of snake oil salesmen and gold rushers who run in, to make a quick buck. You get a run up, and then you get then you get sort of the reality that comes after. And that's my memory. In 1998 and 99, I was building digital music applications. And in 2001 and 2002, after the bubble burst and all the gold rushers and snake oil salesmen left, I was doing exactly the same thing, building digital music applications. And that's how I feel today and feel being in this space and looking at all of you. We have this new invention, critical digital assets, and we have a kind of a new world that will be created. There's excitement about that world today, but none of it is actually here yet. And in the same way that, in 2000, it felt like the internet was very real, right? We had Super Bowl ads, and we had, tons of venture capital. And yet, think about it, the mobile phone that I had in my pocket. I might be significantly older than a lot of people in this room, but the mobile phone that I had in my pocket didn't do anything with the internet. Nothing, right? It was a total piece of shit. And even in 2002 and 2003, it did nothing. Well, today, the mobile phone that you have in your pocket does nothing with digital assets. Nothing. It's, and it is fundamentally insecure, right? So if you've got something of value sitting in a software wallet on your phone, please give me your phone number before we leave the room today, and give me 24 hours to see if I can get it off. Because if you're targeted, it will come off, right? Just like the phone you had in your pocket in 2000 was fundamentally not purpose-built for the internet. The phone you have in your pocket or the computer you have on your desk today is fundamentally not purpose-built for this brave new world of digital assets. And this is why, if you know what you're doing in the space, you have both a Web3 device and a Web2 device, right? And together, they can do the job, right? And this will be rebuilt. Just like the phone was rebuilt, and in 2008 we got the iPhone, and then many people who had been developing web apps for 15 years, like myself, went, "Oh wow, look, now we finally have a purpose. The dream finally came true. We weren't totally crazy, and now we have distribution. And today we have 6.5 billion people on the planet who have smartphones, right? And you also have to remember the people in 1999 who said, "Oh, this internet thing will never work because everyone will never have broadband." And the people in 2008 who said, these iPhones are great, but everyone will never have a smartphone. And, the people who, when Uber came out, said, "Oh, cool for rich people, but everyone's never going to use a app to get a black cab." Like, fine. It's all the people who, are haters on, Web3 and digital assets today. Don't waste your time with them. Just like, I'll see you in 10 years. Right, so because there were plenty of people in 1998 who would have said, "Oh, I don't know anybody who has an email address, and I don't think I'll ever have one." And fine, yeah, fine. And same thing with digital assets. It's like, see me in 10 to 15 years when your passport is a scarce digital object that you are keeping on a secure wallet, which is what you will be doing. And there's a lot of work for all of us to do between now and then. But that's ultimately where this is going. So at Ledger, this is what we see is we have there's these three things that you're trying to get to. One of them is security. Another one is self-custody, because self-custody matters. And if all of your funds were on Celsius, then you appreciate that more this week than you did 2 weeks ago, right? When you have self-custody, no one can halt your withdrawals, right? Just to be clear how important this is. A new right and a new freedom is to have self-custody. So if you're not doing self-custody, then why crypto? Like, just ask yourself that question. Like, what's the point? If what you need is another Robinhood account, okay, fine. Let's start the next E-Trade. But this is a global phenomenon, and both security and self-custody will be a part of this. And there are lots of people who want to compromise on security and self-custody because the ease of use is not there yet. Really, in our game at Ledger is to never compromise on security and never compromise on self-custody, and build toward the ease of use. Because compromising on self-custody is a mistake, and you'll find lots of people that want to do this. They say, "Oh, we're never going to get to scale without software wallets." I'm like, really? Okay, well, you're the person who told me that everyone was never going to have broadband, right? And that what I needed to do was to invest in real networks so that I could, stream at 24 bits per second. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, the future will arrive, right? And there are other people that say, like, "Oh, well, people are never going to trust themselves, and self-custody is really dangerous." Like, I'm sorry, we just saw it happen. And custodianism is more dangerous in this moment than any, because there's this gold rush happening, and not being in control and letting people who are frankly taking risks with your value and your security on your behalf is much more dangerous than taking that into your own hands. So this is I think where we are at the moment. The topic of the talk is identity, and I think that we're at this interesting moment where we have kind of put it this way: my identification that gets me into the proof party tonight is better technology than my identification, which got me into the United States yesterday. So this is a moment in time that doesn't go on forever, right? And so we don't have time to go deeply into the world of the future of digital identity. But I think one thing that again, just look at these two revolutions: a revolution of information and a revolution of value. And so in this revolution of value, when you take into consideration, what is the new invention? The new invention is scarce digital goods that I, as a consumer, will own, the same way that I own things in the real world, whether that is a collectible or art or money or a contract, right? What is my mortgage? It's a contract, or my rental agreement. It's a contract, or my my lease on my car. It's a contract. These are all things that we will have in our possession digitally in the future, and that's the center of gravity. And this is why my belief and our belief is that the wallet is actually the center of gravity in the future, right? I let Meta build their metaverse, but none of us are going to show up in their metaverse if we can't take ourselves there. If we can't take not only who we are and what's our username, but also all of our stuff. Let me have my kind of belongings and let who I am come to life in this world. So there's sort of this bigger topic of identification, law. How does the U.S. government know I am who I am when I come into this country, and what is the record that follows me? And I think the thing that we should all care a lot about in that, and people should get involved in this conversation as it relates to privacy, because this is going to be, if we want to look forward at those, what are the Donald Trump and Brexit moments that are coming in the digital asset world, we're probably going to find it. We're going to find it there. But also, this has a ton to do with identity and who we are and how do we differentiate ourselves from people. I was in the luxury business the past 5 years, and still working with fashion brands. And fashion brands are not in the business of selling you clothes that keep you warm or handbags that give you incredible utility. They're in the business of identity, right? And how do I say I'm part of this tribe? I'm not part of that tribe. I see a Moonbirds hat here. I'm part of that tribe. I'm not part of that tribe. I'm wearing a sweater with a squiggle on it. Okay, I'm part of that tribe. I'm not part of that tribe. This is what we do. There's no difference in wearing a Thrasher T-shirt or a Slayer T-shirt, carrying a Louis Vuitton handbag, owning a Bored Ape. These are all about identity. Frederick Arnault, son of Bernard Arnault, who's the patriarch of LVMH, who's the CEO of Tag Heuer, likes to say that Bored Apes and the watch brand Richard Mille are actually the same thing. About the same number of people, roughly 8,000, people, roughly the same price point. You buy low, you sell high. If I see you on Twitter with the octagon or hexagon, I guess it is, with the ape, I know you're part of that tribe. If I see you at a restaurant wearing a Richard Mille, I know you're part of that tribe. They have roughly the same market cap, in at least the same order of magnitude. And so I think that this is the way that we need to think about it. So that's the other take on the word identity. I've used almost all my time, which I kind of knew I would. Anybody have any questions for me about anything I said, or just Ledger in general, or life, or parenting, or skateboarding, or music? Any questions? So the question is, do I have any opinions on how identity will change as we move into the metaverse? Well, I think it will. It's already changing us 100%, right? I think what you have is again the way for me, the way you build this is you look at what is new, right? And because as Clayton Christensen said, there are no new human problems. We just hire new technologies to solve old problems. So 70,000 years, humans haven't had any new problems, right? We just hire new technologies to solve old problems. So I think that's the first thing. If someone's trying to tell you there's a new problem to be solved, then they're full of shit. We're just gonna find new ways to solve old problems. And so I think that what you already have is, we just have a new tool to do that. And that is a way to identify ourselves, to have membership, and to have ownership. And so if you just follow those vectors, those will be the ways that things change. I think practically, things will change as well, because our ability to be identified and tracked, we're getting new technology to do that better. So there's nothing new there that people want to do. It's true that if cash was invented today, it would be illegal, right? So, I think that's really a war to fight for all of us as humans. This is a lawsuit that's happening in the United States right now about, am I allowed to report on you as a fellow citizen for the transaction that we just did? Am I allowed to report that to the government, or is that something that we want to keep private? And these are things that really we have to decide as citizens of wherever we live what it is we're going to tolerate. But just know we're going to have new technologies to do all of these old sorts of things. One last question.
You were talking about the phone being reinvented, but the wallet being the center. Do you think the phones themselves become more secure and that's all you need, or are you always going to have like?
Yeah. So the question is, I mentioned the phone being reinvented as a more secure device. I would put it this way again. That's why I like the analogy of the phone that I had in my pocket. The internet. We knew the internet was the future in 2000. Yet the phone I had in my pocket didn't do the job. And I think that's an important analog. So that it ultimately will, but it'll take a long time to get there, and it'll have to be rebuilt to do it. And there will be a lot of duct tape and bridges along the way, right? So I think what I would encourage everyone to do, if you haven't already, please go read the book, This Is How They Tell Me the World Will End, by Nicole Perlroth, who's the cybercrime reporter for the New York Times. It'll give you a nice, sober view of where humanity is at relative to security, generally, cybersecurity in particular. And I think that after you read that book, if I ask you, would you be interested in a phone that won't play Clash of Clans, but it will protect your identity, value, conversations, photos, etc.? You might say, yeah, I'd be interested in that device. So this is the question. Like the phone that you have in your pocket today, it's as if I gave you the task of, hey, I've got $1 billion in gold bars, and I need you to protect it in this building. And you start out on the task, and then I came to you a month later, and I was like, oh, by the way, I'm going to put a shopping mall and a kindergarten and a restaurant on the ground floor, right? This is the job that your phone is trying to do right now by trying to protect this new invention, scarce digital goods, some of which are very valuable, and be the thing that my daughter plays Candy Crush on the subway. Like do we need a device that does both of those things? Well, I think it depends on who you are and how much value you have. And that's really what it is. If you look at what a ledger is, it's a signing device, right? So it keeps your private keys off the internet, and it makes sure that that what you see is what you sign when you sign, because your phone can't do either of those things, right? So it does serve a very crucial role. Now, will there be future devices that have an improved level of security? Absolutely. And I think that what consumers want will dictate that. And might Jeff Bezos or Khashoggi want a different type of device than a 20-year-old in college? Yeah, maybe so. And I think that consumer choice is something that we also have just seen explode with the internet. So I'm out of time. I hope that was interesting, at least mildly. And we have Ledger we have the Ledger Open. And if you look on our Twitter for Ledger Open, you can come see us at Moonlight Studios tomorrow and see everything that we're announcing here. So thanks for your time and attention.